Good morning. Welcome, graduating seniors, parents, guardians, faculty, and staff to the Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall School Commencement Exercises for the class of 2021. Thank you so very much for joining us on this glorious, very warm morning. On behalf of the CHCH Board of Trustees who are with us in spirit today, we commend and honor our amazing graduating seniors during a truly extraordinary and unforgettable year in both our nation's history and in human history. More on this later. First and foremost, I begin by thanking members of the class of 2021, as well as parents and guardians, for your flexibility and support in allowing the school to make the necessary adjustments to safely create and convene a memorable commencement exercise for our seniors. Thank you. I would also like you to join me in thanking two members of the class of 22 for their services as class marshals today. Osmara Guzman and Devin West. Thank you both. Nine years ago this month, in June of 2012, I had first contact with today's commencement speaker, Dr. Philip McAdoo. As we prepared to begin a rigorous 3-year journey together, along with 23 other mid-career doctoral candidates at UPenn's Graduate School of Education, we each received this daunting, heavy box in the mail with about a dozen books apiece, noted as required reading for our first July on-site practicum in Philadelphia, a mere 3 weeks away. Phil's email response to the entire cohort, cohort 11, and the program coordinator was something that we were all thinking, we will all remember, but yet none of us had the boldness to say. It was along the lines, and I'm not sure if you remember this, Phil, "Are you kidding me? We're supposed to read all of these books by the next month? This is going to really cut into my summer pool time." That was the first time that I got to know who Phil McAdoo really was. This was and is Phil, always ready and willing to share his authentic thoughts and feelings on any and all subjects, never feigning away from any topic or uncomfortable conversation, and we did have many over those 3 years. During that first summer together, we began to bond over strategies on how best to raise our respective 6-year-old sons. Soon, Phil and I were digging into so many challenging subjects, some related to our coursework and educational and organizational leadership, and others related to the shifting world around us. And wow, is it shifting. Today, Dr. Phil McAdoo joins us to continue the conversation and deliver this year's commencement address. Dr. McAdoo has previously partnered with students at CHCH, both in person and virtually, to discuss the intersections of race, sexual orientation, identity, and equity through a diversity and inclusion lens. As an educator, activist, consultant, and former Broadway actor, Phil has spent his life fighting for the rights of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer youth, families, and educators. His book, Independent Queers, is a fierce exploration featuring teachers of all grade levels that resonates with independent school educators and communities alike. Phil currently serves as the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Earth Justice, a premier global nonprofit public interest environmental law organization that's based out of San Francisco. With that, please join me in providing a very warm welcome to Dr. Philip McAdoo.
I can't believe you're that much shorter than I am. I can't believe you told that story. Can you all hear me okay? Great. Wow, this is such a beautiful place, and I'm so excited to be back here. I'm so excited to be here in this moment, and Lance, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for that warm introduction, and thank you for being a great friend. And I'll tell you, this has been really hard for me. And I don't know why, because I love to talk. I love to share my thoughts. I love to talk about things I've learned. Um, and at the same time, I know how difficult. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can someone turn me up? Is it better? Better? Do you want me to stand? Someone's saying more, more. That's for the sound person. Let me know when this reminds me of being back in New York on Broadway. Can the people in back hear me? Okay. Can the kids hear me? Can you all hear me? Yeah. This is about you. I'm talking to you anyway. No, I'm kidding. But I will tell you, it's been really difficult. And I'm tired of talking about how hard COVID is, because it's been really hard, and I don't want to make this moment about COVID, but I think that was what was weighing on me, was how can I show up in this moment for you and be present for you and say something that moves you, or say something that makes you think about your life differently. I don't know if I will do that. I think that's what life is for those moments when you're out in the world and you get to take all the wonderful things that you've learned here, all the wonderful people that have allowed you to be, that have supported you. You get to take all those things out into the world and just be. And so today when I came on campus and I started to talk to people and I started to remember who you were, I started to think about, I promised I wouldn't say this, but Louis, I'm sorry, I started to think about the first time I saw you and you were all wet coming out of the ocean. I met your family, and I started to think about the last time that I was here, and I started to think about the virtual conversations that we had, and I started to relax, and I started to feel grateful that I was here. I started to feel very humbled that I get to share this time with you. And I started to feel very hopeful, because I will tell you, about 30 or so years ago, I sat in a space similar, but indoors, with a red cap and gown on, in North Carolina, and someone said something about us being the future, about us changing the world, about all the wonderful things that we can do. And I stand here before you at 50, looking at you, being a father, and wondering if we failed. Because never before have I seen such division, such hate, such just anger and sadness. And I wonder, did we mess this up for you? And then I look, and I see you, and I hear you, and I look at your families, and I think, you're probably the best thing that we did. Yes. And that gives me hope. Can you imagine me, your parents, and your grandparents having to come through and have remote school 30 years ago? I think you were the only group that could do this. And for that, I'm really, really grateful. And for that, I'm really honored to be here to share this moment with you. And I also want to share another moment, big moment that we have in common. I turned 50 during COVID. I know, Lance and I are on the same age, I know. And I remember thinking what my 50th birthday was going to be. I've been with my partner for 18 years. We got together when there wasn't marriage, so we never thought about being married. I'm an actor, he's a scientist. I'm an extrovert, he's an introvert. So I'd been planning for about 15 years that my 50th birthday was really going to be our surprise wedding. I was going to invite all our friends and be like, oh, by the way, honey, we're getting married today. So COVID had different plans. So what ended up happening on my 50th birthday was that I had the wonderful gift of 3 links that went out. So I had 3 different conversations with friends from various points in my life. And I sat at a screen for about 4 hours. And at one point, my partner said, well, I hope you all know that he's 50, so please don't think about sending any gifts. Who wants the gifts when they're 50 years old? And I looked at him, I said, wait, so my 50th birthday party is over Zoom, which is great and fun, but not really. And I'm not getting the big party that I wanted, and you're telling me that I'm not even getting a gift? He was like, yeah, that's how it went. But he did end up giving me the most amazing gift that really made me think about today and how I wanted to spend this time with you. At some point, he got with my mom and my sister and various friends, and he created this slideshow of my life that actually started in high school. And I sat there and I was like, whoa. And one of the first pictures that he showed me was of me and Miss Horton. Miss Horton was my 5th grade teacher. Imagine being me. I think I was 6 feet in 5th grade, but imagine having a teacher looking you eye to eye. So she was this gigantic person. But she also saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I came from a really conservative part of the country in the South, so I was never getting invited places. And Miss Horton had a way of validating me, and she knew I was smart. So whenever we would play buzz, she would always pick me to start the game. She would always pick me to lead the class. And there was just something about the way that she lit up when I walked into the room. The next picture that he showed me, my partner, was of Mr. Qualls, who was my 6th grade music teacher. And I knew early in the 6th grade that there was something really special about this teacher. I also knew that there was something really controversial about this teacher because people would say, oh, he's that way. He was really flamboyant. He was the best dressed teacher. He had a really amazing sports car. And in the back of my mind, I knew that there was a lot of controversy around who he was. And I'll never forget, my big, tall self sitting in the back row of our chorus class. And every day at the end of class, he would invite kids down to sing. And so he invited me down. He was like, come here, you, come. I was like, okay. I kind of knew I could sing, but, And so he said, I want you to sing this. I don't remember what it was, but I remember the look that he gave me and the way that he made me feel. Before, there were likes and Instagrams and love. The people that did that in your life were teachers for me. And so I remember the look that he gave me. And he said, I want you to sit on the front row. And I was like, sure. 2 years later, I was in New York City seeing my first Broadway show. And I don't recommend this, but I snuck out of my room. I didn't leave the hotel. I snuck out of my room. And I looked down at the streets and I said one day, I'm gonna live here. I'm gonna live in New York. And then after I went to see a Broadway show, The Tap Dance Kid, there was a black family and there was a story about a little boy who wanted to be a dancer, and there was a lead actor in that show who didn't want him to be a dancer. And I saw so much of my story in this performer. And I waited till the end of the show. I bought everything. I bought the album. Do y'all know what that is? It was big, it was huge. I bought it and I waited. And I said, please, sir, your show was so amazing. Will you sign this for me? And he signed it for me. His name was Sam Wright. About 20 years later, no, maybe 15 years later, I would walk into the Broadway rehearsal for The Lion King, and I bump into this person who's Mufasa, and his name is Sam Wright. And I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? He said, I'm Mufasa, what are you doing here? And I said, I have to tell you, I met you when I was 15 years old. You signed my program, you signed my album, you're the reason why I'm here. And he gave me a big hug, and then fast forward to, I was his understudy, and the day he was out, he left me a note. He said, you're one of two people in the world that are gonna play this role. And I just want you to remember that when you step out on that stage. And it was such an important moment for me because Sam has been a constant thread in my life. When I was in Japan singing at Tokyo Disneyland, Sam was the voice of Sebastian the Crab, and I had to sing in the show in the hot sun a day like today. And I had that interaction with him. And then 2 weeks ago, I got a text from his daughter saying that he had passed away. And I remember thinking about that moment. I remember thinking about being 15. I remember thinking of being 25. And I remember what he meant to me and what he meant to the show and what he meant to the world. And it was just another thing, another sad moment. And my partner looked at me and he's like, no, 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 no. You've had lots of wonderful moments. And so when I think about the people, the teachers, the ways that they have showed up for me, when I think about my son, you know, one of the things that my parents and I talked about when I told them I was gay, my mom was like, you'll never have a kid. And I was like, yes, I will. I didn't know, but I said, yes, I will. And the day we adopted our 6-year-old boy, I remember I called my parents and I was like, I get it. I get it. I get how crazy it must have been for you to look at your 18-year-old son and drop him off at college. I get how crazy it must have been for your 22-year-old son to come home and not finish college and say, by the way, I'm moving to Florida because I want to go sing and being a show. I remember your 24-year-old son coming home saying, oh, by the way, I'm moving to Japan because I want to sing at Disney in Tokyo. And then 2 years later, moving to New York without even coming home to see your family and saying, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go to New York and try it now. I call my parents and I say, I think I get it. I get it. And I think why I was so nervous about being here today, I was so nervous about what I could possibly say or share with you is because I get it. Because I knew I wanted to be a dad for the way that my students showed up in my life, for the times that students would come in and say, hey, Mr. McAdoo, how are you? Kids sometimes don't ask adults how they're doing. For the way that you all were here and we talked about race, we talked about gender, we talked about sexual orientation, we talked about each other. I wanted this moment to be different for you because we owed you that. And so, as you leave today, as you spend time with your family, I want you all to be kind to yourselves. It's very rare. I was going to say it's very rare as an actor that we celebrate ourselves, but we do. But I think it's very rare as people that we take the time to really honor and to congratulate ourselves. And I think as young people, I think it's really rare that we really take in those moments that really are going to shift your life. I proudly say that, you know, after my high school graduation, I left and I never looked back because it was difficult for me as a Black, queer, athletic person growing up in a small conservative town. I just read an article 2 nights ago that my high school, I didn't know this, my high school mascot was the Patriots, but that was a big change because it used to be the Confederates. And so there was an article about my hometown and this racial history. And I thought, wow, instead of being angry, I thought about all the people and all the different ways that kind of moved me through and what it took. And so as I sit here and I look at you and I think about the world that we've left for you, and I think about the many ways that you have as individuals to talk about your stories, to say what it means to be a young person, to say what it means to be a young queer person, to say what it means to be a young person of color, to say what it means to be an ally, to say what it means to be woke, all those wonderful things that you all have to describe your lives, we didn't have. And this wonderful, beautiful device that you keep in your pockets, hopefully now, but you have, that you can literally connect with the world that we didn't have. I know you're going to do wonderful and amazing things. And before I go, I want to share something really personal with you, but I think you will understand. I have a 16-year-old boy who is the love of my life. I wanted more than ever, nothing more than to be a dad, and to be a dad to this specific kid. And we've moved twice during COVID. And we adopted him, I'm sorry, as Lance shared, we adopted him when he was 6 years old, amazing kid. But he's going into his 9th grade, we moved twice during COVID, a new school. wasn't able to do all the things that you're supposed to do when you move to a new school because he's stuck at home with his two dads going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you in class? What? I just got an email said you didn't turn something in. So a year of that, plus being an extrovert and stuck at home with your two dads all day can weigh on you. And tomorrow I'm going to fly home, get in the car, pick him up, and he said I could share this. I'm going to take him to a mental health facility because he said, Dad, I just want to get better. I want to get better. And as a parent, it's hard not to take that personally. But when I look at what's happening, when I look at the wonderful ways that you young people are showing up and you're advocating for yourself and you're advocating for your friends, I again feel really, really hopeful. And, you know, when I was driving him to school yesterday, he said, and also tell them it was my friends. It was my friends that got me through. It was, you know, being able to connect with them, being able to laugh with them during this time, it really got me through. So I want to thank you all for being friends. I want to thank you all for being the wonderful, amazing people that you are. I want to apologize one more time for leaving this world a mess for you, but I know with all my heart, that you are the ones that are going to make things better for us. I really do. So enjoy today. Take advantage of every single thing that you can with your parents. Milk it for all that it's worth, and your people that are around you. This is your day. And I'm so grateful that I was here to share it with you. Congratulations.
Sydney Duell arrived in 9th grade and immediately made an impact visually through her brilliant, insightful art, and in the classroom and residence halls because of her engaging personality, intellectual curiosity, and desire to collaborate and engage. Her peers look to her for support with their coursework, as Sydney is a patient and intuitive tutor. They also come to her for guidance in their relationships, as a barometer for creative ideas, and as a mentor for achieving goals. Sydney has maintained a clear sense of self even as she gives so much to her community, using art as a tool for self-reflection and self-expression. Please welcome the accomplished, imaginative, evocative, impassioned, and always sublime Sydney Duell.
Hello, everyone. So I want to talk about unexpectedness. When I arrived on campus in 9th grade, in my head and in my identity, I was on the path to becoming a neurosurgeon. But now, instead of a scalpel, I hold a palette knife. This was unexpected. It wasn't a surprise. My calling to art didn't come out of nowhere, but it was a change from what I thought was going to happen, the path that I was on. Growing up, my mom was always hustling. She takes on so much, always looking for ways to support me and my brother, and working exceptionally hard in everything she does. She constantly reinforced that economic security was a priority. It was the most important thing. So I thought about how I could achieve this, and I decided that the highest paying job and most secure career would be as a neurosurgeon. I got so much positive reinforcement when I shared this information that I felt affirmed in my choice and stuck with it. I was doing the right thing. The path was set, and I had a plan for how things were going to go. I wasn't afraid of the hard work ahead of me, and felt prepared and certain about the journey I was on. Once I got to high school and the future was creeping closer, I started to have doubts. I was doing well in my science classes, but I wasn't excited about them. And I noticed this difference because I did feel excited in other classes that weren't going to help me get into med school. But I kept focused. I stuck to my plan. I couldn't shake the structure that had been ingrained in me. If you have the potential, you work towards it. If you have the skill, you maximize it. You stay on that ladder, climbing towards what society tells us is the most prestigious outcome, the most successful career, just the most. My competitive nature responded to this and didn't allow me to veer off this path, to settle for what I thought was less. I have always been a student that does well academically, and because of this, people expect me to achieve things and use that strength to my advantage. My mom went to college, but had my brother during her first 2 years, and then me when she finished her nursing degree. And my dad stopped going to college to support my family, and my brother got his GED. I was going to be the one that, quote unquote, does it right, or who goes far in life, and I liked that expectation, that identity. I wanted to be the one to support my family and to give them everything that they had been working so hard for. I was proud of that, and I wanted to honor it. I still do, but my definition of success has changed. Last spring in quarantine, the feeling that had been rising in me, that the path I had agreed to was not the one that I was meant to be on, stopped being something that I could push down or ignore. I realized that I didn't want to do what's safe or what others wanted me to do. It was a hard decision for me, forced into this unknown situation gave me the opportunity to redefine my future and my goals. I am happy with the decision I made, and I am excited for the future. I think having a little bit of the unknown, the unexpected, keeps me moving forward and gives me a sense of choice in my life, in my pursuit of happiness, and in my definition of success. I believe that you have to be welcome to the unexpected. Everything is so unpredictable and up for change, and you can't stop that. And more than just accepting it, I think you need to welcome it, embrace it. It's not about dwelling on the past or a lost future, or hoping for what would have been, but looking forward and being excited about the future. It's scary when things don't go according to the plan that you had, but you can't plan out life. You can and should have goals for yourself, but you have to be flexible in how and when you get there, and how you achieve it, and what that path looks like. For growth to happen, there must be change. Have faith and confidence in yourself. Listen to yourself and your feelings, your heart, and your soul. Be honest with yourself about what you want and also about the challenges you will face on your way to getting what you want. Don't be afraid to grow, even if it's a new direction. Embrace the unexpected and welcome the change. And in the end, it will all be all right.
Gabriel McCree is incredibly smart and talented and curious and wise beyond his years, but not his experiences. He's also community-oriented, empathic, and inclusive, and knows how to care for the world while still preserving and nourishing himself. He's been through it, he's risen above it, and written about it, with both heart and clarity, and such a beautiful, interesting voice. As a community, we are so fortunate to have spent some time with Gabe, witnessed the founding of the Barn Club, and watched them develop and grow, even just a fraction of a percent of what he will continue to do on this trajectory. Please welcome the eloquent but epigrammatic, idiomatic, and never orotund, Gabriel McCree.
My favorite episode of the surreal animated kids show Adventure Time is called Abstract. It teaches a valuable lesson about change, growing up, and friendship through the metaphor abstract art. We won't get too into the weeds about the plot of the episode, but there's one really key moment that I want to tell you about. Throughout the episode, Jake the dog is in denial that he's changing. He refuses to admit that having blue skin, 5 eyes, and bat wings is unusual for him. He tells his friends, "I'm the same old Jake," even when they can clearly see that, visually at least, that's not the case. It's only when Jake's brother, Jermaine, tells him about his philosophy of abstract art that Jake comes to terms with his changes. In the end, Jake ends up saying, "Shapes are always changing. Changing is their normal state, like us. Even if we're not changing on the outside, we're changing on the inside constantly. As long as I know the shape of my soul, I'll be all right." I stumbled across this episode at exactly the right time. It was a day in late August, and I was searching for ways to cope with the grief of losing my best friend, our classmate Janice, who passed away around that time. I turned to Adventure Time for its odd artistic storytelling, which I had hoped would be a momentary distraction from the grief. In retrospect, it probably wasn't actually a coincidence that I picked a show that had a lot of similarities with Janice's energetic, fun, and absurdist sense of humor. kind of humor and creativity that lends itself to making artwork of two-sided shoes, French films about Garfield looking for a grapefruit, and a skate club about a building. Not surprisingly, then, instead of being a distraction from grief, the episode guided me for 15 minutes in reflecting on grief, change, and even abstraction of experience. The episode wasn't about grief, but it spoke to grief in a way that, for all the talking about grief that I had done, I hadn't heard yet, and that I really needed to hear. The episode held my hand as I thought about the ways that I've changed, and the ways I often deny those changes. I started small and relevant to the moment. I thought about the time I noticed my handwriting had changed after Janice passed. For the record, it's a lot messier, and I make more spelling mistakes on accident. Then, I moved to thinking more broadly about high school. High school wasn't all smooth sailing for me. I went to 2 different schools before landing at CHCH, trying to figure out how to balance mental health, recovery, self-expression, and academics. From many conversations with my classmates here, I know I'm not alone in navigating that balance. In my SAS class in junior year, Mrs. Lacoste told me to edit my papers through lenses. Instead of trying to edit the whole paper at once, I should edit the grammar, then the structure, then the content, then the citations, etc. In reflecting on something as vast as high school, this piece of advice comes in handy quite a bit. It's hard to look at a 4-year free school experience and understand everything at once. So, when I think about high school through the lens of that Adventure Time episode, I realize that for all the recovery work, academic successes and failures, moments of doubt, moments of hope, I'm still the same person. Sure, there are a lot of things that are very different between the 14-year-old Gabe in his first food and culture class at the Cambridge School of Weston and the 18-year-old Gabe currently telling you about this episode of a Cartoon Network show he really likes. But Jake the dog said, changing is a normal state. As long as I know the shape of my soul, I'll be alright. And again, I don't think I'm alone in this experience. I've witnessed firsthand the changing and the staying the same that my classmates have done. And only having been a part of this community for the past 2 years, I can only imagine the true extent of the growth that's happened in each one of you. I once overheard someone lightheartedly comment at another person, I've never known someone who has grown so much and still remained exactly the same. I love this comment, not only because it's a perfect example of a classic DDT dialectic, but also because I relate to the idea of growing in a lot of ways, but still remaining true to yourself. For example, in the transgender community, we discourage our allies from mourning who we were before our transition, and instead remind them that we're the same person as before, just a little closer on the outside to who we are on the inside. I consider myself beyond lucky that I have gotten to know my amazing classmates at CHCH for the past 2 years. I love the ways we support, affirm, and challenge each other to grow and change for the better. And even when it seems like the world is made up of uncertainty after uncertainty, we remember the shapes of our souls. Our own souls, our friends' souls, and our collective soul. We grow, and we remain exactly the same. At the very end of Abstract, Jake the dog looks in the mirror and says, simply and beautifully, different yet the same. How are we different from who we were in 9th grade? There sure have been a lot of things that have changed us. How are we the same? How will we continue to grow after we graduate? How will we continue to know the shapes of our souls? I am so excited to find out. Thank you.
I'd like to thank and congratulate our valedictorian, Gabriel McCreek, as well as our salutatorian, Sydney Dool. I also wish to extend our appreciation to Dr. Philip McAdoo for joining us and sharing his keen wisdom with the class of 2021 and all of our guests that are gathered here today, and also those that are remotely viewing from around the world. Thank you. We will now present diplomas to the members of the class of 2021. This year, as a special recognition, we will present diplomas while honoring two talented institutional icons who have served the school for 41 and 36 years respectively, Mr. Bill Gastillo and Ms. Alice Solero. On the lower table before me, each graduating senior has a CHCH diploma, as well as a certificate welcoming them to the CHCH Alumni Society. When each graduate's name is announced in alphabetical order by last name, we invite the graduating senior to rise, approach the table, and receive their diploma from Mr. G and Ms. Solero as their symbolic final acts as educators here at CHCH before their well-earned retirements and commencement. This diploma presentation should include a handoff, turn, and captured photograph. After the photograph has been taken, we kindly ask that our graduates return to their seats. All families are invited to take photographs with their graduates here or elsewhere on campus after the ceremony, but before departing. We will honor 46 attending graduates in this way today. I will also be announcing the names of 5 absent members of the class of 2021. I ask you to join me in applauding their accomplishments when I call their name in alphabetical order. They will be watching this ceremony via live stream in the very late evening back home in both China and South Korea. So let's give them some love when we call their names. We now invite each of our graduates to come forward for community recognition and to receive a diploma as each graduate's name is announced. Nathaniel Bias. Sophia Eloise Blair Golden. Alejandro Carvajal. Layla Faith Cavero. Christian Chumenkovich. Aaron Codrington.
Yeah, Aaron!
Ivy Coleman. Jonas Collier. Sophia Kalina.
Yes, Sophia!
Anna Davidson. Sydney Duell. Stephanie Nwanwu. Quinn Fedek. Patrick Fortin. Isabel Foster. Daniela Friedman.
Yes, Dan!
Kendall Rose Geffen. Sonia Gladstone.
Get it, Sonia!
Emily Grape. Olivia Noor Haydar.
Get it, Olivia!
Jemima Maluva Jewel.
Let's go!
Henry Cameo. Michael Katz Flynn.
Mike! Yeah, Michael!
Please give it up for Sungjoon Kim. Hayden Lancaster Mora.
Yeah, Hayden!
Laura Kate Lanza.
Woo! Yeah, okay! Woo! Woo! Let's go!
Let's hear it for Hong Jung Lee. Boga Leo.
Let's go! Yep, go!
Jake Osborne Din McConaughey.
Yes, Jake! Okay, Jake! Yeah, Jake! Yeah!
Gabriel McCree.
Woo! Yeah, Doodle! Let's go! Yeah, Jake!
Lewis McGill Scott.
Yes, Lewis. Yeah, Lewis.
Rebecca Morgan.
Yes, Becca.
Ario Dante Nor.
Yeah, Mario.
Jacob Ottaway Velder. Dallas Paige Rochelle. Brendan Regenauer.
Yes, Brendan. Woo!
Julius Ruben Grant.
Yeah, Jules.
Biron Mansata Sane.
That's right, King. Yeah! Come on!
Ella Rose Shapiro. Lucy Slocum.
Yes, Lucy. Yeah, Lucy. Woo!
in Seoul, South Korea, Hamin Song. Marnie Sternberg.
Yes, Marnie.
Audrey Sugira.
Come on, Audrey.
In mainland China, Hao Bo Sun. And from Japan, Kenki Suzuki. Eli Tarbucks.
Yeah, Eli.
Savian Tejeda. Allison Testa.
Yeah, Ellie. Yeah, Ellie. Woo! Yes, Ellie.
Mary Ellen Tevnin. Bao Nu Train.
Yeah, Dolly. Get it, Dolly. Yes, Dolly. Yeah, Dolly.
Sun Hyuk Vu.
Yes, sir. Yes, son.
As is tradition at commencement ceremonies throughout the country, I would now like to invite the graduates to turn their tassels from the right to the left side of their mortarboards to signify that you are indeed graduates. Congratulations, graduates. You are now alumni of Chapel Hill, Chauncey Hall. To the class of 2021, this is both your day of looking back on your time as a student here, reflection, and looking ahead at what you want to do with the lessons learned along the way, projection. And as you reflect, I want to be clear, crystal clear, that your teachers have witnessed your perseverance and resiliency during the most challenging year of schooling that any of us in attendance today can quite possibly remember. Your class fortitude and focus has been one of the most admirable graduating class happenstances I have had the privilege of experiencing as a head of school. You, class of 2021, have demonstrated the strongest resolve and character that I have credited to any graduating class in my 15 years at the school. For that, I and the CHCH faculty and staff profoundly thank you. I also hope that today is a day for expressing gratitude to the people who have made this moment possible for you. I would be remiss to not provide an important moment of pause and appreciation directed toward the heart and soul of the school, our talented faculty and staff, for their incredible, unwavering, and Herculean efforts this past year. This is, without question, also a day to celebrate you and your achievements. We look forward to hearing of your great accomplishments in the years to come as we continue the good work preparing both returning and future Chargers for a rapidly changing world. Now, speaking of change, and in terms of lessons to be learned for a life that's only partially lived, Gabe's valedictory address provides some heartfelt advice worth reiterating and absorbing a bit further. In his speech, Gabe stated, "I love the ways we support, affirm, and challenge each other to grow and change for the better. And even when it seems like the world is made up of uncertainty after uncertainty, we remember the shapes of our souls, our own souls, our friends' souls, our collective soul. We grow and we remain exactly the same." A world made up of uncertainty after uncertainty. This is kind of what Dr. McAdoo was talking about. Let's pause for a moment and place this uncertainty in the context of a global health pandemic in which more than 3.5 million world citizens have died over the last 18 months, with over 594,000 of those tragedies occurring right here in our own country. Let's place this uncertainty in the context of ongoing, loathsome, and horrifying acts of racial injustice occurring across our nation, a nation governed by the promise that we, the people, will establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and promote the general welfare, all noted in the very first sentence of our own Constitution. Let's place this uncertainty in the context of incomprehensible national political turmoil and deep partisan dissent that ultimately led to a violent insurrection upon the U.S. Capitol building, our very cradle of democracy. Let's place this uncertainty in the context of an existential global environmental crisis that still has its disbelievers. Really? Let's place this uncertainty in the context of society's still emerging awareness and naive stigma toward mental health illness and support and recovery services. And let's place this uncertainty in the context of the ongoing national civil rights movement that necessarily provides protections and policy support for some of the most vulnerable populations among us. I am sorry, graduates. I am sorry that the world seems so screwed up right now. Despite the ongoing chaos and ever-present noise around us, Know that we believe you are worthy and valuable to our society as you commence your journey forward. Know that we have confidence in your competence. Know that we value your asymmetrical excellence in gifts in so many different directions. Your diplomas represent that belief and trust in you. As a school, our vision will continue to be rooted in establishing the school as a distinguished institution for differentiated teaching and learning within a multiple intelligences framework. We will continue to understand and appreciate the many ways in which students learn, discovering multiple entry points to learning for each of our students each and every day. Our role and responsibility has been to push you to be alert, to be eager, to be empathic, and intellectually capable student citizens. We believe you are ready to dig in and help solve many of these challenges facing our screwed up society today. In our humble opinion, you are all ready to flourish and spread your wings as far as they can reach. Please go and soar. Thank you and best of luck, graduates. In a brief moment, we will formally conclude the commencement exercises for the class of 2021. At this time, we ask that all graduates and family members remain seated. We would appreciate your patience as the faculty and staff begin to proceed to create our Charger Thunderstick receiving line along this front grassy knoll beneath the dais. Once the faculty and staff have taken their places, as they're doing so now, we will start the senior class selected recessional